This Week with Bob Mueller on News 2.
This week,
death in children, death from firearm injury, guns stolen from cars. We are at the very bottom.
a gathering of voices fight for common sense gun reform.
I thought we'd at least have a discussion about gun violence in our state.
While GOP lawmakers refuse to even discuss a ban on assault weapons.
Any opportunity we have to expand freedoms in this state and expand the civil liberties of our citizens here in Tennessee, we're going to do so.
Assault weapons, GOP lawmakers are trying to add to Tennessee's open carry law, along with all long guns.
I'm so glad.
And TSU fights the GOP-led forced removal of its board of trust. Hello again, and welcome to another edition of This Week. A doctor, a prosecutor, a U.S. senator, and a minister take on common sense gun reform. TSU fights back against the forced removal of its board of trust, and long guns could soon be legal to carry on the streets. But we begin with a continued refusal by Republicans to even debate gun safety legislation. Tennessee Republicans remain steadfast in opposing any kind of gun restrictions in Tennessee, including a ban on assault-style weapons like the ones used to kill 3 children and 3 adults in the Covenant School shooting. A bill that would ban assault weapons was dismissed without discussion from the House Civil Justice Subcommittee. Prior to the meeting, State Representative Bo Mitchell handed out a folder documenting use of AR-15 rifles in U.S. mass shootings. Representative Mitchell says the committee shut down the proposal without any debate. Mitchell expressed his frustration, saying he is extremely disturbed by the committee's actions.
You know, I'm under no impression that it was going to pass in the environment we have here in the Tennessee General Assembly, but I thought we'd at least have a discussion about gun violence in our state. You know, there's so many members of that committee who want to cry and they want to pray with the victims of gun violence, especially the families from Covenant. But when we're going to sit and have an honest discussion about gun violence in this state, they refused to even hear the bill.
Last Wednesday marked 1 year since the shooting at the Covenant School. Tennessee's Republican supermajority has blocked any form of gun legislation, despite polls showing overwhelming support for such laws. But a proposal to allow teachers to carry guns in Tennessee schools is nearing passage. State Capitol reporter Chris O'Brien takes us inside the proposal.
Soon, teachers carrying guns in schools could be a reality in our state.
I think it's just one more thing teachers have to deal with. And unfortunately, I don't want a teacher to have to, moonlight as a cop in a school. And I don't want the teacher to get injured. I don't want the students to, be in a situation where they won't be safe. I just don't think this is the answer to school violence.
A bill to allow teachers and administrators to be armed passed the key Senate Judiciary Committee this week. It would require the teacher carrying to have a handgun carry permit, have a written authorization from the chief of local law enforcement, and complete 40 hours of basic training in school policing. The requirements are the same as what the state requires for school resource officers.
If I was a teacher, I wouldn't want to be armed, but I would stand between my students and a gunman, okay? But I don't want to be armed. Why is that? Because I don't have the training. I don't have the background. And when you look at this bill, here's the thing. It's not mandating that teachers do this.
More conservative Republicans say the bill gives another added layer to keep kids safe. Plus, they argue if you went in a different direction, like stricter gun laws, people would get guns anyway.
It's illegal to buy pot in Tennessee, but yet you all know you can go down any street corner and buy it, right? Just because you make something illegal doesn't mean it's no longer available.
Not every Republican has been on board for the bill. In the House, several who are considered more moderate voted against it in committee, joining every Democrat.
Universally, folks in Tennessee, they're okay with people having guns. I'm okay with people having guns. I just want folks to be safe. We have to have some sort of regulation in this.
And now, Tennessee Republican lawmakers are pushing legislation to allow the open carry of long guns.
The bill changes one word in Tennessee code.
There's many states that currently have open constitutional carry, Mississippi being one of them, where I've talked to the Speaker Gunn before he retired about it, and other states have constitutional open carry wide open. And in those states, you haven't really seen a problem. I understand here that there's a concern about what that would look like because it's never been here.
Tennessee law stipulates you can openly carry a handgun in the state. But soon a new bill from Republicans could change that. It would change the term handgun in law to firearm. Democrats had one word for it.
Nuts.
Stupid.
That's it.
When the bill came up in committee, the Department of Safety and Homeland Security testified against it, saying it'll end up causing unnecessary panic.
Handguns, can be concealed. They are smaller in nature. When you start talking about long guns in places such as outside of banks or around school buildings or around the Capitol or this building complex with long guns, it does make law enforcement very uncomfortable for the sheer fact that it's going to cause people to be concerned.
But a majority of Republicans pressed on anyway, despite some opposition from even staunch conservative Republicans.
Any opportunity we have to expand freedoms in this state and expand the civil liberties of our citizens here in Tennessee, we're going to do so.
In Nashville, Chris O'Brien.
Now to our This Week cover story. Faith and civil rights leaders went after Tennessee Republicans who voted to oust Tennessee State University's Board of Trustees. Here's State Capitol reporter Chris O'Brien.
No, ain't gonna let this legislature turn me around.
The majority of Tennessee Republicans voted to vacate Tennessee State University's Board of Trustees last week. The move comes after multiple scathing audits alleging major financial mismanagement. But TSU leaders and supporters say the state has been underfunding Tennessee's only public HBCU for decades, leading to serious issues.
If you're only investing in us a quarter of the way, then maybe you still see us as 3/5 of a human being.
It's also something they say has been happening to historically black colleges across the country.
We need it in Tennessee.
Yes.
We need it in Mississippi.
Yes.
We need it in Virginia.
Yes.
We need it in Maryland.
Yes.
We need it in Arkansas.
Yes.
We need it in Missouri.
Yes.
We need it in Oklahoma.
Yes.
We need it in South Carolina.
Yes.
Republican state leaders slammed the school's leadership last week, calling it a prime example of mismanagement.
Being chronically underfunded has nothing to do with the inability to appropriately put numbers into ledgers. All right? That has nothing to do with that.
I'm so glad I go to an HBCU.
The civil rights leadership didn't limit their criticism to Republicans, though that's where they did level the majority of it. But they also went after black Democrats at some level, too.
And I challenged Representative Harold Love on my show last week. They should be filing a suit. If this legislature will not spend the $2 billion, they need to sue the legislature and take them to court and put them under depositions and then say, why won't you give them the funding? Because when you do that, now you can begin to examine how they fund every other public institution.
I did ask Nashville Democratic Representative Harold Love Jr. if he intended to help organize a lawsuit. He says he's not opposed to doing so, but currently he's collecting data and research on the state's history and other HBCUs around the country before making any further decisions.
I'm so glad I go to TSU.
In Nashville,
Glory, hallelujah.
Chris O'Brien.
Stay with us. This Week continues in a moment.